Hey everybody, it's the Mad Master here, and today I'm going to do a video about a very controversial subject and how I came upon this subject and this community that I've ostensibly been a part of on and off, not so much lately for various reasons. And however, I have a respect for much of it and respect for much of the ideas. Now, this is going to be a really personal video. I feel like doing this video because I want to talk about this subject. I'm fascinated by it, and I'm fascinated by these related subjects to this. So this one is about the pickup artist community and how I came upon it, but more so the reasons and the story of how I got into it, because why. So talking about this subject, I think it's important to give people a little perspective on our modern society and our modern reality with regards to men and women, or heterosexual cis men and women, usually what I'm talking about. That's kind of where I'm drawing upon. So since the 60s, and I'm not a conservative by any means socially, by the way, just before I, as an addendum to what I'm saying, I am not a social conservative. In fact, I'm kind of a social libertarian. As far as, I'm really far into social libertarianism. That's probably why, I do so many videos about the restrictions of all this stuff, because I've made these restrictions related to the crisis we're going through, is because I just worry. It keeps me up at night, literally, as far as what could be mandated, or what could be, what it could lead to in the future, as far as all these laws and restrictions and stuff, or how people can hold on to their power and not give it back. So the whole thing with regards to the pickup artist scene. So men and women used to have, more traditional lifestyles. You would grow up and meet someone in high school or college and get married, and you'd be married for like 50 years. And the 50s and 60s, or the 50s, this is like these beaver cleaver kind of ideal family and all this stuff. Now, there was a lot of, things under the surface that people didn't want to talk about: racism, homophobia, sexism, all this stuff. However, this is kind of how, what I'm talking about is how people lived back then. And I'm not really in love with the idea of the kind of social conservatism that implies. However, that's the way it was. Now, with feminism and women's liberation, and simultaneously the idea, this is what I'm going to put into this is a little wrench in the mix here, of neoliberal capitalism, which kind of made people, want to, and just capitalism in general, accumulate more wealth. Businesses wanted to expand, and social safety nets were abolished for various reasons, and austerity pushed in some areas, as far as that goes. But that, as a result of that, divorce skyrocketed in the 70s and 80s. And these traditional male roles were kind of put in limbo and, into chaos. Obviously, we see that even more now with a lot of these, attacks on male roles and male, traditional masculine ideas. The pendulum swung, in my opinion, a little too far against these ideas, calling, basically a lot of what's masculine, toxic masculinity, all these ridiculous, attestations to that effect. So now what happens is there's various types of relationships that people have. A lot of men were raised by fathers that were more passive, in certain situations. You don't have that balance in growing up in a household of divorced parents, and you had these different types of things happen, these different types of dynamics. I'm not going to go too much into my own upbringing, because I know certain people watch my videos that are related to me, so I don't want to offend anybody. But I'll speak in more general terms. I think a lot of men grew up kind of in chaos because of these social movements, because of these different ideas, and it exacerbated already existing problems within the family structure or within people's upbringings. So combine that with a lot of kids that just felt alienated when they were a kid, were picked on a lot or whatever, got into weird interests, or maybe had autism or something, or Asperger's. You had a lot of boys. Christina Hoff Sommers, for all her, for some of her flaws, I will admit, she's talked a lot about these ideas too. You had boys growing up with this sense of unreality about life and their self-esteem. So when a lot of these boys grew up, they did not know what to do as far as dating women or anything like that. So now we get to I'm not, kind of glossed over my upbringing. I was just giving you some general ideas to look at with regards to this. So let's go to my adolescence and how that worked. So I had an older brother who had a lot of he wasn't really in the household because he was in foster homes and stuff, but I had an older brother that was very much into the more masculine traditional ideas of dating, and kind of the machismo was there, who I looked up to, and he was more okay, so going back to that 50s thing, that ideal, that was a big component, and I'm not saying it was across the board as far as traditional family roles and stuff, but it would take care of a lot of people. What I'm trying to say, and like we go into the whole alpha, beta, all that crap, I'm not going to go into that in this video, but you look at those ideas as far as it took care of a lot of people that would have not been in these situations. They would have been single, they would have not been married if it weren't for these traditional structures. And then there you had other people that were more free, more rebels or whatever. They were single or whatever. So I'm not saying my brother was like that, like a later version of that. I'm just saying there was different ideas at play, and there were these ideas and these dynamics all throughout history. You had Don Juan. You had all these people that were like that. So anyways, getting back to this whole story about the more current times, 80s, 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s, when I grew up, so I did not, and even though my brother, and even some people would tell me about, oh, this is what a girl does if they like you or whatever, a lot of people, I didn't get it. And I'll put a list of things. I'm going to say a list of things that I didn't understand. This is going to be a long video, by the way. I'm glad, because I want to do this video, because as my other video said, I'm really, really angry right now, so I need to talk more about this stuff, about some of these things. So one thing is that I did not understand the whole teasing thing with regards to, like, a girl teasing you might like you, all this stuff, or vice versa. It's kind of like I got picked on so mercilessly by other boys that if a girl picked on me, I didn't get that might be a sign that they liked me. I didn't understand that concept at all. I didn't understand, ribbing or they call it negging or whatever in the pickup artist scene. More on that later. I didn't really get it. So I was left just totally in limbo and totally misunderstanding anything that girls would do. There was a few girls that I know, looking back, liked me. Like, even like, I'm talking about elementary school, but still, like, I'm like, and I did not understand. I was so inside my own head at the time. I did not get it. I did not really understand how that worked. And then even when middle school came, it was all chaotic. So I was super depressed. I had problems with depression, anxiety. And first I was in 6th grade at this private school. And I was I was trying to act more like my brother, where I was shy though still, and I had social anxiety, but I was trying to be a little more edgy. So I brought porn mags to school, got busted for that. I won't go into that situation, but and I wrote this dirty love letter to a girl, and she actually liked it. It was really weird, but she was Jehovah's Witness. I was a little pervert. Is that sexual harassment? I don't know. Maybe she'll Me Too me for my 12-year-old love letter. I don't know. But it was weird. And I didn't know what to do. But then 7th grade hit, and I went back to public school. And I literally put my head down all the time. I would not talk to anybody. I had selective mutism at that point. And there were girls that talked to me even back then, because I was really into the Misfits, so I'd wear Misfits shirts. There was these 3 girls that liked the Misfits, and Samhain, Danzig, and all that stuff. And what happened was, I didn't talk to anybody. And then 8th grade hit, and I used to do this stuff for attention, like this disco dance thing, and I started becoming a class clown, but still had selective mutism, because I wouldn't talk to people. I had really messed up middle school. I was picked on, people tried to beat me up and stuff, and I ran away usually, but it was a really tough time. And then high school hit, and I went back to my mute thing, at least for freshman year, until I met my friend freshman year, and we were my best friend at the time. And I could still count him one of my best friends, of course, even though I haven't seen him in years, and went to his wedding 10 years ago and stuff. There's little nuggets of wisdom that still ring through my head, by the way. There's a very wise dude. I wish I would have respected him more in the past for certain things, because this is a little bit of digression, but I really respect him now as far as a lot of things he said. I picked on him at first, and then I became friends with him. It's kind of messed up. I used to do that with a lot of people, including some people that I know now. Unfortunately, I feel bad about that. But I think I stabbed someone with a pencil. It was one of my friends back in middle school. And yeah, I've had a lot of weird issues and stuff that I'm trying to deal with even right now. So, where were women during this time? Okay, so there were girls that would talk to me. I kind of half ignored them, or didn't think they were talking to me. Let's say in a class, a girl was talking to you, or I probably might not even hear them. There was a girl my friend before I was mentioning, my best friend in high school, pretty much, other than one other dude, who I don't speak to anymore. The other guy. That's a whole other ball of wax. So what would I do? I think what happened, sometimes a girl would be talking, trying to talk to me, and I didn't think, I was so paranoid and had so much anxiety that I didn't think they were talking to me. I didn't think that they liked me. I thought all women hated me. It was like a conspiracy almost. It's like Alex Jones, all women are against me. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying it was almost like a conspiracy. I didn't think it was a conspiracy, but I felt like it was a conspiracy. I knew my rational mind didn't think it was a conspiracy. So this was a problem. Even when girls liked me, I know there were girls that liked me back then, even especially when I grew up my hair and I had a mullet back in middle school, and then I cut it, and then I grew it out again, and I cut it. You know, every time I cut my hair, girls would give me compliments and stuff. I'm like, oh my god. And there was this one time in sophomore year, this girl was like, Matt's kind of hot. Oh, I don't know about that. Oh, I guess you're right. It's like this weird argument about if I'm hot or not, these two girls. I'll never forget that, because I cut my hair and it was like, oh, he's kind of hot. Because I think they couldn't reconcile the fact that I was such a fucking reject to like thinking I was physically attractive or whatever. So I found that really ridiculously hilarious, but it's funny. Nevertheless, so what happened with high school? Well, I became part of this BBS, and BBS is kind of proto-internet, these bulletin boards. Because my friend I mentioned before that I met in freshman year was, he's a little bit more, he lived in the area where there's a little more money than my lower middle class ass. So he had like a computer and stuff, pretty good computer. So he got on these bulletin boards, and I was like, dude, I want to get in on that. So my father gave me a really cheap computer that he had. It was kind of a hand-me-down, but it was cool to get a computer. And I wish I still had this computer. It was a color computer, Tandy. I wish I actually had the thing now. But it was a classic computer. I wouldn't say cheap. It was just, kind of outdated by then. So I got on the bulletin board and started talking to people through that. And then I had I met my first girl I hung out with from there, because I used to actually message. I used to be like, I was super desperate by like late sophomore year or like mid sophomore year of high school, because I'd never had a girlfriend. So I just started talking to girls on the BBS, and I met this girl. I hung out with her for months, and it was weird because she made some moves on me, and I didn't understand it at the time. I won't go too into the dirty details of that. I was cuddling with her and stuff. But I'm not going to put it. It is seriously like there were moves made. I'm not, not exaggerating or anything like that. It was, looking back at the time. Like at the time, I was like, oh really? You want? Oh, it's so smooth down there. Oh really? I was such a moron. I don't know what it was, but I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing, I finally had my first date with a girl from the BBS as well. Girl lived on the other side of town, and made out in a movie theater, did some other fooling around, in the movie theater. That history repeats itself, because 20-something years later, this happened with my now ex-girlfriend, where we were almost kicked out of a movie theater. It's kind of hilarious. That reminded me of her too, actually. It's ironic. One of those ironies of life, huh? So that happened, and then all this messed up stuff happened with that girl, because I was still a virgin, by the way. And what happened was there was all this messed up stuff. So she was seeing this other guy, and there was all this stuff, and she lied to me, and he impersonated her on it's kind of ironic, because I won't say what's happening with that dude now, but he impersonated her and then said all this bad shit to me, and my self-esteem took a nosedive. I went into this deep depression for half that summer. And I only had one date with her and talked to her for like a couple weeks, but I was obsessed with this whole thing, and I got really messed up over that. So, kind of a pattern, anyways. And after that, nothing, I swore that to the previous girl before this girl that I was, hanging out with, that I was going to kill myself by age 18 if I was still a virgin. And of course that day came, and I'm just saying, this is really messed up stuff. That day came and went, and I didn't commit suicide, but that was a weird thing to say as a teenager. I mean, I guess it's a typical teenage thing. I really, I haven't really grown up that much since then, but so I I'm not going to go through my entire history. So it was just basically these feeble attempts at dating. Like this one girl that liked me when I worked at this place downtown where this pharmacy, drugstore, supermarket place. I'm not going to say the name. Downtown where I live, this girl showed interest in me. I didn't believe it, and then she kept coming in, give me these weird looks and saying these weird things, and then her friend came in and kind of gave me the hint that she liked me. Then I heard that her friend at this other pizza place mentioned me that she was living with, and like it was just this weird thing. They thought I looked like Trent Reznor and all this stuff back then. it's hilarious. So that I had a date with her finally after giving her a note after like 4 months. By then, though, I don't know if she just wanted to have a one-night stand or threesome or something. I slept in the same bed as her, but I didn't really, I didn't do anything because I was just like so scared. And she was definitely making the moves on me that whole night. And people downstairs that were at the store thought that I got laid that night, and I didn't. And it was like, hey man, how's it going? Because I was so scared to make a move because I was so messed up. And then finally I got set up with this other girl, lost the V card, years later, got set up with another girl, lost the V card. And this is where the story really takes a turn for really dark moment. And this is why I got into the pickup artist stuff in the first place. So this girl I was seeing that I was set up with from a friend, there was a lot of problems with this situation and how I felt about her and stuff. Things were so weird. She's just a really weird person in a lot of ways. Hopefully she'll never watch this video. I don't think she will. A lot of people don't watch my videos anyways, so as far as people I knew back in the day, that's what I mean. Like, I don't mean not a lot of people that watch my videos, but she, there was just a lot of weird situations. I got kind of obsessed with getting her back, and I prayed, oh my God, because I dumped her for various reasons, because I thought I was starting college, or a little later in life, like, almost mid-20s or mid-20s. And I was like, all these hot girls here. And, I had to drive 2 hours to see this girl. I was like, maybe I'll dump her. I just wasn't feeling right about it. I just don't think we are compatible, me and this girl, for various reasons. I'll just leave it at that, okay? So, but still in my head, I was like, oh my God, she's the one. And I knew there was a lie, because I didn't really feel that way. But it was just like, I kept praying and whatever. And shortly after we broke up, I went to hang out with her, and I bought her like this jewelry and brought her a flower and all this stuff. But she had dumped me, or she had moved on by then. So we went to dinner and stuff, and I was super depressed and super messed up on the date. But she was already seeing a guy. She looked really good. She would like clean herself up and stuff, because when she was dating me, she would look all weird and stuff, like just kind of frumpy and stuff. But she would like clean herself up and lost some weight, and was made up. I was like, damn, what happened? And I really wanted her back. It's kind of one of those things. It's like the guy usually does that. Like, oh, you've worked out. You look so much better than 2 years ago when I saw him, man. So that happened, and I was obsessed. And then the MySpace drama with her was weird. And then it was years later that she was starting to show interest in me. She like drunkenly texted me a couple of times, and just missed me and all this stuff. Just years later, and I happened. But that's a different story, because that happened after I got into the pickup stuff. So, anyways, what would happen was, then after this date, right, that Halloween or that October, a year later, this is a little bit over a year after I dumped her, she started wanting to be friends with benefits. So every year or year or so, we would do it. sorry to be blunt, but it was just like this never-ending cycle of, Groundhog Day. Like this one girl, I'm like, oh, I don't know, I wasn't certain about the situation. It just was over and over again. And I had dates, but I was ballooning up even bigger than I am now, because I was almost 300 pounds, and I was on antidepressants, and I was in this band that I probably know what band that is. People that know me, that I still do not feel like was the best of what I could have to offer, or, we had to offer or whatever. And I just felt really weird. I was working a job I didn't like, much like now. So I was stuck in this weird circle, this weird cycle. So, once a year, I'd meet up with this girl, and the same girlfriend that I had back at, for 7 months or whatever. And it was weird. And she said, oh, if we don't meet anybody by the X age, we should get married. And I was like, well, are you going to move down here? And she's like, they'll never move down there. I don't like the big city. Like, it's not a big city. Anyways, all these weird arguments and all this weird bullshit, right? So I got really depressed. I was obviously depressed. I was on this antidepressant that made me really groggy and like sedated more than previous antidepressants. And I would be really lazy. I'd go to this Mexican restaurant once a week, and I was just ballooning and, just not doing very well. So it comes to pass that my friend that I was living with had a party, and I was just like, at that point, I was just like, this is just this endless cycle. I haven't had a real girlfriend. I've had this once a year encounters with this girl, maybe, not even all the time. It's only happened 2 or 3 times, and it's been years. And I was just like on my last legs. Everybody started getting married and having, we weren't having children necessarily at that point, but like a lot of people were getting married and having these kind of first real long-term relationships. Some people were starting to have kids and stuff, and I'm just like, I'm being left behind the world. I got started super late, and I don't have anything. And what happened was, my friend had this party, and there was this girl I kind of liked that he knew through our circle of friends, and she was like coming on to him, and I was like really jealous, because I was like, I kind of liked her, and she was just like, how does he make it seem so easy, and blah blah blah. And I got so messed up over it that I had a nervous breakdown, and I got a little violent. I got not violent, but I don't think I punched a hole in the wall, but I almost did, and I slammed doors. Went for this long ride early the next morning, like 5 in the morning or something, for like an hour or so. And then I came back, and then I had to work like the next day. And there was this thing going around at the time called the ladder theory. It was this just joke, like proto-meme internet thing before like memes became a thing. Like the ladder, like the girl likes the biker guy, but doesn't like the nerdy guy. And it's like, you have to be on the step on the ladder. You have to be this rich guy or whatever. And I looked up the ladder theory, and then I came across this name, Neil Strauss, which I had heard before. And I was like, oh, okay, I've read a couple of his, I think I read the Motley Crue book, and maybe Marilyn Manson book. I don't think the Marilyn Manson book. I think just the Motley Crue book. But I was like, oh, okay, who's this guy? And he was talking about pickup artists, and he wrote this book called The Game. And I was like, what the hell is a pickup artist? So I started reading about this whole thing, like, oh, this science of like getting better with women, and all this stuff was really like seductive, right? So I think a day later I went to what was it? I think it was Borders Books, it was before Borders closed down, and bought The Game. I ended up reading it 4 times, like 2 times, in succession, and it changed my life and how I thought of relationships and stuff. And to this day, I can't actually look back on relationships in the normal way. It's made me very jaded about things in a lot of ways. But the whole point of that is that I was desperate for change in that part of my life and wanted other things people took for granted. And that's kind of what people that get into that whole scene are looking at. You know, there's a lot of propaganda out there about, oh, there's sexist pigs that wanted, it's rape. It's like, no, I don't, it's not. I mean, first of all, that's not. I mean, some of these newer guys that are out there are closer. They get a little weird and aggressive. You know, some of these guys I've watched, like in this documentary that came out a couple of years ago, and that's true. But for the most part, it's about improving yourself, improving how attractive you are, and, you know, going about the steps to become a better person, and not really about necessarily like being like fake or, you know, all the stuff. But my whole thing was that was going to be the way forward in my life. Now, I still have a lot of problems within that whole realm, because I don't like the idea of like just going about relationships like they're disposable and all this stuff. At the same time, some of the ideas and tactics and, you know, beliefs of that whole scene still appeal to me. So I'm kind of confounded by it right now, at deciding which direction I want to go with relationships in general, not only, you know, with knowledge of that scene. But that's kind of a short, well, not very short, but, you know, there's kind of the reasoning behind my dalliances with that whole scene or subculture, and which I have problems with itself. You know, I think there's a lot of superficiality in it and a lot of problematic aspects to it. At the same time, I would not go back before the pickup artist scene as far as what it is like taking the red pill, like looking at things, because I didn't understand things like, for example, like teasing, or that women like strong, I don't know, it's like this strength that they, you know, confidence. I didn't understand. See, maybe loosely I understood that, but I didn't understand like the mechanics of how that happens. And then I denied that it was real or true, that this is the case. So I think it's kind of and there's a lot of nuances and complexities within the whole pickup artist view of the world that are very erroneous, very wrong, very pseudoscientific at the same time as well. But you can sift through the stuff and find the best things about it. For one thing, you know, they always say is that it's a numbers game. And I think this is probably the most important aspect of these ideas and beliefs that I learned, is that the differentiating between what your peers, your family, the women in your life, or, you know, whoever, relatives tell you, or, you know, and putting into practice what the idea that women, or that it's not just some their inertia and just remaining stagnant is not going to, for certain people, is not going to help at all. Or, you know, you can manifest things. You know, I believe in some manifestation stuff, like some new age stuff, which I'm trying to go back into desperately right now, because I've hit the wall in life in a lot of ways, and I'm just like, I got to go back to some of that new age stuff again. But so one of the beliefs, though, is that, for one, oh, well, this is one thing that someone told me, oh, just stop thinking, or, oh, just live your life, you'll meet someone, you don't have to search for someone. This is one of the most erroneous beliefs that the blue-pilled normies, whatever, I don't even remember a pickup artist, it's like a cult, okay, like I said in my previous video about this, or one of my previous videos like 2 years ago. It is like a cult. But I can't remember what the name of, or AFCs, or people that push the AFC culture forward, the average frustrated Trump culture forward, say is that, oh, just don't do anything, you'll meet someone. Just live your life, just enjoy your things, you know, just enjoy your life. You'll meet someone naturally. Okay, for one, let's break down this, and I've done videos about this before, but this is going to be an hour video probably, so let's break this down one by one in my life. Okay, and I've done this before. So one, I live alone. Two, my circle of friends is limited and kind of spread out and kind of, it's kind of, I've cut off. Actually, I haven't cut off because it's ironic because like there was one friend I'm not talking to, haven't, not really friends with anymore, and some of that social circle's eliminated. But actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm actually talking to some of those people right now. So it's ironic because I'm still like in that social circle, but social circle is limited. Not to mention, even when I was working in a center at a job, when I was actually in an office, which I hope to one day be again, it was limited to a lot of women that were married already, had children, were like, or they were just like, let's just say butt ugly. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm sorry. All right. I can confidently say that I don't believe that I'm as ugly as the women that I'm just butt ugly, not attracted to. I'll just say the politically correct term, not attracted to, right? So that was limiting, and then social circles limiting. What do you, and you're not in school, you're not a young person anymore necessarily, and what are you limited to? Online dating. Okay, online dating is it's beset with its own preponderance of problems as well. It's very deceptive, a lot of what happens with the online dating. Girl take a picture like right now where it's like a little bit overhead, not as much as probably some of these pictures that women put up. They'll use all these Snapchat filters. You'll meet them, oh man, she looks so good in those pictures. What? You meet them and you're like, so it's deception. It's like if I put, it's male version of that would be like if I make $100,000 a year, or even like if I said that I worked with cutting edge technologies, I'd still be fluffing up my resume as far as what I do for a job. I work for a phone company, but that doesn't mean I'm working in cutting edge technologies. Even though this is actually what Neil Strauss actually recommends saying, like, fluff up your resume, So that's one thing. It's limited, okay? Online dating has its own problems. A lot, even now, when you meet women from online dating, it's a certain set of criteria that, it's really hard to get you. It's really hard. It's a numbers game. You have to email hundreds of women. Sometimes use scripts and all this stuff that I've done over the years. I'll be honest. Anybody that's dated me knows that I've done that, you have all at times, and it's just like, it's so difficult. So what are you left with? Okay, going to the way, meeting women in real life, going out and doing it. But that's wrong, right? Because society says you should just naturally meet someone through your social circle and get married and happily ever after, right? And that's like the total beta male ideal, right? If you just beta male, I'm just using that as a kind of a disparaging term, but at the same time, it kind of being ironic about it and sarcastic about it. No, that doesn't work for many people. When you're at a certain age, when you're at a certain relative lifestyle in your life, that doesn't work. Or it doesn't work as well. Okay, online dating works. It's worked for me. Most of my relationships have been online dating, it doesn't mean that I like that fact, but it works, but it's limited because it's so much time, so much effort, and a lot of it doesn't really get down to the nuances of face-to-face interaction, which guess what does? Pickup artistry. Yeah. So the whole idea of approaching a bunch of women, and having these sets or whatever, it's kind of a stupid term, but the sets, the approach as two set, it's as wrong as some of the elements of it are. It's about venturing forward and pushing your ass forward, pushing your limits of boundaries of reality and your own inner turmoil to make yourself a better person. That's my belief. Since I read the game years ago, that has been what I believed about it. It never changed. BuzzFeed can run a thing about pickup artists are evil, ban them from every crevice of the globe. They could run that. They're Nazis or alt-right connected or whatever. They can run fucking massive campaigns against them. I will not change that opinion. I like the original guys, Ross, David D'Angelo, Mystery, Tyler Durden's old school stuff. He's kind of turned into kind of a maniac at times. All these old school guys. But I do not, for one day, subscribe to the idea that it is wrong to go approach a woman you do not know if you find her attractive. I will never believe that, no matter what the propaganda says about that. How did people meet back in the day? They saw someone, they said, "Oh, I want to go on a date." It's fucking propaganda. Okay, it is. Now there are some things that pickup artists have done occasionally that has been fucked up. Okay, there's no denying that. I will acknowledge the flaws and the ideas that are bad. But there was not one day that I've never believed that this is not a good thing in that basic premise. Now, there's all sorts of things afterward, after you do all this stuff and after you improve yourself and after you become this kind of guy that I still have questions about that I still don't understand quite at the same level as a lot of people that have done this stuff, including friends who are basically have lived some of that lifestyle too, like really good friends. Even though they hate the pickup artist scene, but they basically, live kind of like the lifestyles of them at times. So yeah, that's kind of what I think about that. Now, I don't believe that people should be limited to their social circle or their status of income or whatever. I think they should be free to do these things. No, the pickup artist thing is kind of superficial because you look at someone's vibe, their energy, their looks. You do kind of see that, and you go up to them and maybe you get to know them and they're just like fucking whatever. Maybe they stink or something, I don't know, or they're just total psychopaths or something like that. And you see this image and you're going by the first impression. But at the same time, what else are you going to do? Get to know someone over a 2-year period online that you email from France or something, and they finally move over here with their green card or whatever the fuck, or different things that probably be required in the future, unfortunately. It's a very difficult conundrum that people are in. And when a person doesn't have a lot of experience, when a person doesn't have just the basic, a lot of people that criticize pickup artistry don't really understand the loneliness that people have gone through. And they take things for granted is my point. They've dated someone since they were 18, they got married, and then they are with them until they're 36 or whatever, or they might be in relationships really easily to their circle of friends. They know a lot of people, they're social, or they're not social but they're nerds, but they're in these nerd groups and stuff. It's not, and with schedules too, people have weird schedules like I do. Like, it's even harder. Like, I have to go to a bar and I have to go to different things on different days, and I have to go out to meet people like on this conscious kind of weird days because I have weird schedules. Just a little note on that. But people take things for granted. They have had naturally, women take things for granted. I'm just saying this is, I'm not trying to be sexist, but women get approached, they get men clamoring after them. And when men are raised to be more passive and more like have things come to them, like I was raised or I was conditioned, just the way things went in my life, the household, but the peers, being picked on, being, having social anxiety, all this stuff, and not having role models that pushed me hard enough. My brother tried, even though he was kind of a dick too at times, but, and even my father tried sometimes too, but at times. So like, as far as the masculine role model to have that more assertive energy to go after what you want, when you grow up passive like that for nearly decades before you even get anything going on in your life with women or relationships, you're going to be fucking lost. You're going to be lost like in the wilderness pretty much. So this oracle of the game comes along, this golden sword rising from the forest, right? But that's the thing. So it's like you can't. People don't understand because they live their normal lives, not every and no even relatively normal lives. It just happens. They'll get married at 18 or 25 or whatever. I don't understand why pickup artists are around. What is this about? You know, it's like, and just the basic idea. Of course, like there's this sexual. Trying to think of one. You know, this promiscuous idea of this guy going out and having sex with a bunch of women and stuff. You know, but they don't have. But guys that get into this stuff, they're not into. They don't go through high school and like, oh, I dated Shelby for 2 months and I saw Heather for a week and then I dated this girl. They don't have that background, that backdrop of having this experience. Then when they're 24 years old or 26 or 28 or 36 or 43 or whatever, they're fucked, right? They're fucked because they have not literally fucked because some of them are virgins. I'm saying they're fucked because they don't have this background of experience and, you know, being acclimated to having relationships or having normal, and I'm going to say normal because I believe there is a norm to some extent. You look at the average age, you lose your virginity, average age of marriage, average number of people married, divorced, blah, 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 average number of relationships in a lifetime. They're not even at the average. They're well below average, right? So they look up at these things, and sometimes it's like, well, to become even average, what a person has to go through at that age where they don't have, it's kind of like, I'm trying to think, it's like if you're trying to become a bodybuilder, or not, I wouldn't say bodybuilder, let me try to think about this. If you want to become an Olympic athlete, and you don't get started until you're like 50 at work, and you have no background, what are you going to want to do? Are you going to want to, just do some basic exercises at the gym, and then try to get in shape to be an Olympic athlete? Or do you want to work with people that are like Olympic athletes and like do hardcore like 8-hour a day workouts and stuff? Are you going to want to, or take some serum that makes you a superhuman or whatever? You're going to want to do all that stuff. You're not going to just want to do the basic shit. So basic shit's not going to get you to be even on, circling, or what do they call it? Let's just say wrestling team. Like, you're not even going to get on like the basic like neighborhood wrestling team by doing what normal people do. You have to go through some real shit, real work to get somewhere. If you're like you haven't been doing this since you're a little kid or whatever. People go for decades getting trained in different things, right? So of course the pickup artist thing is like that. It's like this, you have to go through all this stuff to get to where normal people are. Not to mention a lot of people that become pickup artists, that sell this. It's a grift, partly a grift. So some of this grift is these guys that are just, they're too good looking to sell this. I mean, they're to sell the pickup thing because it's like, it's not meant for people that have normal lives necessarily. It's either meant for people that have normal lives that want to, be nearly sociopathic in their sexual relations. Let's just not be around the bush. Or people that have had such bad experiences and had such lack of experience that the only way forward is to become more assertive, and by doing that, this basic pickup artist stuff, like the basic rules, like, compared to Scientology, like you take the Oxford personality test, and then you do the communications course. I guess Jerry Seinfeld did it. It's like you take these basic courses. Of course, the triangle is more and more money, but just think about that way. Getting the basics done is hard enough. It's hard enough to go to a bar and say, "Oh, that's a nice, it's a very interesting outfit." It's hard enough to do all that stuff. So when you're starting out from nothing, you're very little, even compared to most people. I mean, if your longest relationship was 8 months and you're 43 years old, even if you're not a virgin, right? Know a few virgins. It's like, it's still fucked. It's like almost worse. I almost think it's worse to have a lot of experience, or not a lot of experience, like relative experience, but in these like short bursts, and it's like very am I trying to say it? Very inconsistent, and it's like every few years or every 10 years or whatever. I think it's almost worse than being just a virgin at 45 or whatever, That would be probably worse it's probably worse because it's like you had the taste of normality, but then it's like taken away from you every it's just like this heartache and this yearning and this desperation almost sometimes. And so when you look at a virgin, it's like you're starting from a fresh slate in a way. It's like even little victories will probably seem like $1 million. But yeah, there's a little observation about that. But yeah, the people that don't understand the whole subculture and these ideas have not really lived in people's shoes that get into this stuff, because it's when it's bad, when you see everybody around you, everyone having a normal life. Oh yeah, my wife, blah blah blah. It's not even about that. Or growing up, maybe you're younger and you see you're in a frat and you're this nerdy kid, and you're like, everybody's getting laid around you, right? You don't even know what to say to a girl. These are two different situations. Obviously, there's a spectrum of what people want from the pickup artist scene. Some people want to get married eventually. Some people want to have fun and then get married. Some people want to, some people want to do a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things. But the normal sexual behavior of a man is not what the pickup artist scene is about. It's just to be honest. So when people get into these ideas, I'm not talking about red pill or MGTOW or anything. I'm talking about just the pure seduction community, pickup artist scene. People that get into that are troubled. Maybe we've had some experience, maybe we've had some relationships, but others have had no relationships. There's people that have had, been with 6 women or whatever in their life, and their longest relationship was 9 months or whatever, and they're 35 years old or whatever. And then there's people that are 45-year-old virgins that have had one date, and then there's people that are married for 20 years, but they've only been with 2 women, and then they get out there and they don't know what the fuck to do with the current society as far as dating. There's a lot of people that are, go through this whole PUA thing, or read about it at least, and as a spectrum of various types and people. So in conclusion, I'm stuttering. Yeah, I'm Joe Biden. He doesn't really stutter, I don't think, but so I don't really call it a stutter. So my whole point about this video is that I just wanted to go through this because it's just like an explanation of a lot of these ideas and how I feel about them at this point in my life, and why I got into these ideas, and what, moving forward, I think, like, the idea is, like, right now, in the last year or so, I've been pretty unmotivated about all this stuff, but it's basically like a person that wants to, there's a lot of like arguments against, even feminists and stuff say about, why don't you do this instead? It's like, okay, all right, well, be ourselves, and just like, you have spittle on your face, and you're eating food and it's all over your shirt or whatever, and you'll be yourself, like, and tell people your mental illnesses, all this stuff, like when you first meet them. We'll be ourselves. Okay, what's that gotten us, right? What the fuck has that gotten us? Shit. Be a better person. Improve yourself. Work out. I'm about to work out. It's like, become a better person, become more attractive. Doesn't mean that you're like becoming a different person. And it's like from NLP, like these ideas, like if you read about NLP, you totally understand why these people say these things in the pickup artist scene the way they do. So in conclusion, I think it's good to consider that a lot of society has failed men. That's why they get into this thing. I don't see anything wrong with a lot of the ideas perpetuated by it, as far as being assertive and going after what you want, going after multiple streams at once, just dating and trying to find someone, women or whatever you're compatible with, even if it's for a short term or long term. I don't see there's as long as you're honest about your motivations and stuff, of course, and that gets really complicated. That's where I've had the most problems with, is that, like, where do you draw that line? But I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't see anything wrong with approaching people in real life. I know a lot of people have been down on that idea, but I never saw it as bad. And people that get anywhere in life, they knock on a lot of doors. They get a lot of rejections. That's just the way it goes. It's sales, music, movies, like Sylvester Stallone. I think he sent the Rocky script to like 180 different people or something, or 1,000 people or 1,000 different, or 180 different companies or something. I can't remember what the whole story was, but like this idea that you have to just sit on your ass and just draw from your social circle that's mediocre in the first place is flawed, and for some people, impossible. If you're into metal, it's a sausage fest. Oh, that one girl over there, oh, well, she has a boyfriend. Oh, everybody else is a guy. What am I gonna do? It's bullshit. People that perpetuate this idea that approaching women is wrong, or casting your net super wide is wrong, or whatever. It depends on what you say, of course, too. I'm not saying people should harass people or anything like that, but this idea that these ideas are not even wrong. I'm going to say, I don't think most people think that necessarily approaching women is wrong, except for really hardcore, crazy feminists out there that write these articles. Like, most people generally agree that approaching a guy or a girl approaching another one in the pursuit of romantic or sexual attraction is not wrong. However, they always think that it seems desperate, or it's not right. It's like, women have a fucking privilege that they can walk down the street and have someone approach them. Men do not. We're acclimated to this idea that you have to you can't do these things because you're a man. You're like, you just have to naturally. Women are projecting their own ideal on the men that talk about, like, going out and approaching women actively. Now, the whole point is going to conclude pretty soon. I know it's getting to be an hour, but the whole point of approaching women so assertively is not so you can do that the rest of your life. The whole point is to have this, kind of upward glide into becoming more attractive. So you do, part of it is because you want to become this guy that's attractive. So you have to try all this stuff, trial and error. Once you do, it's not like the guys that are really good with women are doing that the rest of their lives. Well, some are, of course, and they're teaching people and they're making money off of it. But for the most part, it is a temporary thing for a lot of people going through this process, getting to this level. And then they meet someone, or they just decide to, they're not going to go out and go out sarging, as they call it, for the rest of their lives. Maybe they'll be on an elevator and start talking to a girl about her t-shirt or something one day, and they're just living their lives. Like, isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? Just living our lives. Just wait someone will come. Oh, just sit on your, it's the way the messaging, the communication is so stupid. Like, oh, well, yeah, oh, when you stop looking, you'll meet someone.
Minsan, can you meet someone?
No, no, not for me, not for a lot of people, not for probably, millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of men out there. No, that's not how it works. Now, that doesn't mean I haven't been approached like this summer. I got approached. I mean, been approached more than I have in a long time, but for whatever reason, I don't know. But it doesn't mean you can't get approached yourself. It just means that that's not gonna sustain anything long term. Having the interactive interplay between, okay, I'm attractive, I might get women interested in me, showing signs when I'm out at a bar or walking down the street or whatever, but I also do it myself. It's just like this interplay between these two things that people meet. So that's just a long-winded explanation of why and how I got into the pickup artist scene, how I got into the seduction community and all that. And I'm not actively a member right now, but who knows? And it doesn't mean that I can't get a girlfriend and just be like, well, maybe I'll quit doing this stuff or being interested in this stuff. I'm fascinated by dating and relationships. The business ventures that I'm actually working on right now with a friend, one of the business ventures is related to that, by the way. Just a little spoiler alert. But of course, with how things are right now in our society, I'm really worried about things. But I'm going to bust out, break through, move forward. That's all you have to do. And that's about all. Peace out.